It's episode 643 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm breaking down what a Juan Soto trade would look like for the Texas Rangers, why they should do it, and briefly on that stupid sweep in Seattle. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Thursday, July 28th. Your Rangers are 43-54 after getting swept in Seattle. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment anything below. Comment your perspective, Juan Soto trade. Comment, wow, you're an idiot, you didn't give up enough for Juan Soto. Comment, wow, you're so dumb, that's giving up way too much for Juan Soto. Whatever your thoughts are on Juan Soto talk or just any Rangers talk in general. Now, before we get into the fun stuff, let's just bite the bullet and talk about this stupid sweep in Seattle. By the way, you know how frustrating that series was in Oakland, where the Rangers nearly got swept and then dominated the first 7 innings of the game on Sunday and then nearly blew it in the final 2 innings? Well, that series doesn't look nearly as bad because the Oakland A's literally just swept the Houston Astros. So just maybe we can all just settle down and remember that the Mariners are one of the hottest teams in baseball, and the A's, no matter how many players they sell off, are always going to be a colossal pain in the butt. Now, the Rangers lost this one 4-2 in Seattle. They had a chance to win it. They had Jon Gray on the hill. You thought, okay, this is one of 2 starting pitchers that apparently the Rangers can win while they're pitching, Jon Gray and Martin Perez. Gray was fantastic for the first 6 innings, only allowed 1 run, and then the Rangers took a 2-1 lead. And that's where everything got off the rails. Then that 7th inning, we thought Jon Gray was going to go 7 innings, but things just kind of fell off there in that 7th inning. You'd think, oh, well, you bring in the bullpen. You know how bad the bullpen's been the last, season, especially in clutch situations? No, you do not bring in the bullpen there. You let your highest paid pitcher, I guess, on your staff go out there and make some pitches and try and get out of it. It started with a Cal Raleigh walk, then a near out that could have taken this to a 1-run game, but it probably wouldn't have mattered. The Rangers still probably would have lost 3-2. But a challenge play on a Sam Haggerty double. I believe they thought he was out at second base on a throw by Adolis Garcia, but it didn't go through. And of course, Julio Rodriguez, who else but Julio freaking Rodriguez, comes up, hits a 3-run shot, his 18th of the season, to give Seattle a 4-2 lead. The Rangers would not be able to do anything else in this one, despite hitting a metric crap ton of doubles off of Marco Gonzalez. That's why Charlie Culberson was in the lineup, because for some reason he always hits the crap out of Marco Gonzalez. Has 4 doubles on the season. I'm pretty sure all of them are off of Marco Gonzalez. I'm 99% sure. Elliot Hernandez played first base and got another double. Jonah Heim had his 15th double of the season, and Nathaniel Lowe came in to pinch it and got his 16th double of the season off of former Ranger great Eric Swanson. Jon Gray's line looked not as great as it was at the start of the game before that stupid 3-run homer, but 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, all of those earned 4 walks. He worked around those pretty well for the most part, but one of those did score on the home run and struck out 8. His slider was working, his fastball was working. Brett Martin came in, and this is very, very necessary for Brett Martin to have something to end the skid at that point, because his last 2 outings were really not great. He came on and blew the game on, I believe it was Tuesday night, and also nearly blew the game, I should say, on Sunday. Allowed back-to-back home runs in an outing that should not have been nearly as difficult as it was on Sunday in the 9th against those fighting Oakland A's. Now, enough about this stupid series. It sucked. We're moving on. 4 games in Anaheim. About the most lopsided starting pitching matchup you can have out there in the American League, I think, right now. In Spencer Howard versus Shohei Ohtani to start this one. But it's 4 games against the Angels, who are really, really struggling. By the way, Mike Trout, go read about his his most recent medical development. He is out right now. He has a very, very rare back condition. It's going to be chronic. It's going to affect him the rest of his career. He's very positive and upbeat about it, but it's going to be something that he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his career. He's, been in the big leagues for 10 years. He's still, I believe, just turned 30 or is about to turn 30, one of those two, but he is still very young and still has a lot of great baseball left, and it's a darn shame that this happened, but it's not going to end his career, but it is going to be a big hamper and imposition on him for the rest of his career, wishing him a safe and speedy recovery. But these Angels have been absolutely terrible after that very hot first 2 months of the season, so the Rangers could really get back on track with a 4-game series in Los Angeles. Now, on to the big news of the day, which has been big news that I've just been ignoring because I did not think that it was something that was likely to happen until old Buster Olney on SportsCenter the other day goes on and is naming the teams that are in the mix for Juan Soto. Number one, very not surprising, is San Diego Padres, who are in on everybody making big, splashy moves. That is what their GM does. That's what their team does these past few years. But number two, he only named 2 teams in the open, the biggie, and one of those 2 was your fighting Texas Rangers. He had as the second best odds to land Juan Soto. Now, I don't necessarily know that I believe that Jon Heyman said they had the best odds. Neither of those guys, I would say, is the most trustworthy insider in Major League Baseball right now. That title goes to Ken Rosenthal and, of course, Jeff Passan of ESPN. Those 2 are the big national guys that I trust the most with breaking news. But I do think that the Rangers are in the mix, and the main reason that Buster Olney said, he only had 15 seconds to talk about the Rangers, but he said the connection to Scott Boras Juan Soto is a Boras client. The Rangers have a lot of goodwill towards Mr. Scott Boras after paying $500 million to his clients in 2 days, which his agency and he himself will see a decent chunk of that money for negotiating those big old contracts for Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Now, if the Rangers also have had a long-time good relationship with Scott Boras that kind of got damaged just a little bit in the Joey Gallo contract extension talks, but they did right by their player. They did right by what Mr. Super Agent wanted, and if they weren't going to give him an extension, they traded him to New York, a team with allegedly endless money that, would theoretically pay him the contract extension that he would want. So I don't know that it was necessarily as big a black eye on their relationship as it looked. But the Rangers have had a long-standing good relationship with him. They the biggest, I want to say that Alex Rodriguez was a Scott Boras client at the time, but I'm pretty darn sure he was, because Scott Boras has represented every huge player for the last, I don't know, however many years he's been doing this, which has felt like a very, very long time. And you remember, the Rangers gave a whole lot of money to one Alex Rodriguez. So you give a lot of money to anybody's major client, and that's going to establish a great relationship there. And so if the Rangers want to become a Scott Boras super team, trading for Juan Soto is definitely a good way to go on that. Coming up, we're going to look at why the Rangers should trade for him, how good is this guy, and what a trade package for Juan Soto would look like. But first, today's episode is brought to you by the Sports Card Investor app. Welcome to the world of sports cards reimagined. The Sports Card Investor app is the hobby's most powerful resource. Quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit off the hobby you love. Available completely free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, the Sports Card Investor app is a must-have for baseball fans. It's completely free. You can browse over 630,000 cards from every single sport. So not just baseball. You can get basketball. You can look at football. All kinds of different sports. There are hundreds more added each week. Check the latest values of your favorite cards with the 77-day or 30-day charts. Find the best prices and buy directly through the app with our eBay Deals feature. If you're looking for breakout stars, if you're looking for a Juan Soto card, you want to get it before he becomes a Texas Ranger, so you can have the old edition. You want to get a Juan Soto rookie card, you can go in and find those. They've got all kinds of different ones. You want a Douglas Garcia card, you want a Dane Dunning card, you want a Spencer Howard card. They might have some of those. You got to go in there and check it out for yourself. There's never been a better time to start collecting cards of your favorite players. If you want to get a Mike Trout card or a Shohei Ohtani card before, every single great great player comes onto the Rangers. Download the Sports Card Investor app today. It's available for free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/lockedon. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. The MLB trade deadline is coming on August 2nd, and Locked On MLB has all the breakdowns. Locked On Rangers will have rapid reactions to any move. I'll be off that whole day, so I'll be ready and waiting for any potential Juan Soto or Martin Perez or whatever kind of trade the Rangers want to make. Go subscribe now to Locked On Rangers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, so you'll get notified when each episode premieres. Now, why should the Rangers trade for Juan Soto? Well, long story short, Juan Soto's pretty darn good at baseball, and the Rangers want to be good at baseball. They want to be a winning baseball team, so they should get good baseball players. That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. This kid came up in the big leagues at age 19 in 2018, played 116 games, finished second in Rookie of the Year voting to Ronald Acuna Jr. That's some bad luck rookie timing. But this kid has been absolutely fantastic since the day he stepped foot in the big leagues. He is a professional hitter. He plays the corner outfield. If you literally don't know anything about Juan Soto, this is your primer. This is your brief. This guy should be a 4-time All-Star, but they didn't have an All-Star game in 2020 when he finished 5th in MVP voting, won a Silver Slugger. I don't know how on earth he wasn't an All-Star in 2019. His age 20 season, 150 games there, ended with a 949 OPS, finished top 10 in MVP voting, but wasn't an All-Star. His team won the World Series that year, so he's already a World Series winner, was that. And I want to say he performed. I know he performed very, very well in that World Series, but he did not win World Series MVP honors or NLCS MVP honors. He is a home run derby champ. He has a batting title. He has 2 Silver Sluggers, and he has several on-base titles, including he might end up getting it this year. He had a 490 on base in 2020. This was one of his most insane seasons. That was a shortened season, only played in 47 games, but he had 13 homers and 14 doubles that season, 41 walks to 28 strikeouts. This is a guy who really, really, really knows how to walk. He's got, let's see, here we go. Yeah, several more walks than strikeouts in his major league career. 457 walks in 561 games and 413 strikeouts. A career slash line of 291, 426, 538. In terms of WAR, you want to look at that. Last year, he finished second MVP voting to Bryce Harper. I still think he should have won. He was a more valuable overall player. He played the field a little bit better. Still not a great fielder, but was right around average last year. Has been pretty darn bad this year, but had a 7.1 WAR season last year. In 5 seasons, he has a career baseball reference WAR of 20.9. He has a 162 game average, because remember, he had that shortened season, and he's also missed some games. But his 162 game average is 6.0 WAR per season. Absolutely, absolutely bonkers. This guy already has 118 home runs in 5 seasons. Everyone talked about how he absolutely sucked to start this season. Yeah, he already has 20 home runs in 97 games, 420 plate appearances. His batting average is pretty low, below where he normally does. He's about 48 points below at 243, but his on base is still 400. His slugging percentage is still 480. His OPS is 880. That's the horrible start to the season, Juan Soto. And he still has 23 more walks than strikeouts at this point in the season. He is leading Major League Baseball in walks at this point, and he was an all-star. This guy is just so darn good, and I think if Nelson Cruz wasn't their everyday DH, he would probably be DHing at this point. He plays a little bit of right field, plays a little bit of left field, but he's not particularly great at either this year. His defensive WAR is negative 0.7. Last year it was negative 0.2. It has always been negative every single season in the big leagues. So the Rangers are probably going to switch him to DH or put him in left field. And, if they put him in left field and they manage to hold on to Leody Taveras and Adolis Garcia, that's still an above-average defensive outfield. I mean, you have Leody and Adolis, who both have center field range, who can cover a little bit more ground and cover for a defensively less great Juan Soto in left field, especially with how great his bat is going to be. He would slot in I'd say number 3 in that lineup. You put Marcus Semien, you have Corey Seager, and then you have Juan Soto, and that's your 1, 2, 3 until 2030, pretty much. If you go ahead and end up doing that, that would be pretty darn exciting. He is under contract for the next 2 seasons. Doesn't become a free agent until 2025. Obviously, the Rangers want to work off some kind of long-term deal. He rejected a 15-year deal that would pay him over $400 million because it was well below market value. For those of you saying, oh, he's so greedy, whatever, like I tell you the same thing I tell you every single time. Baseball, Major League Baseball generates a whole lot of money. Who would you rather that money go to? Would you rather it go to some rich, faceless, nameless owner who does nothing, provides you no entertainment value, just sits there and reaps the rewards? Or would you rather it go to the people who are hitting baseballs very far, entertaining you, and making the sport so fun and amazing? I would much rather it go to the players every single time. And by the way, these guys at the longest have 20-year careers. That's a 15-year contract. That is almost the entirety of the rest of his career that he is signing for below market value with no chance to improve that deal for money that will have to set up him for the rest of his life and hopefully his family for generations and generations to come. He's not being selfish by that deal. He's just being smart. Also, the Nationals literally just did this to Bryce Harper. They literally just did this. Had a guy who came up into the big leagues at 19, progressed faster than anybody ever thought, way high expectations on him, and became a generational star, and they let him walk because they didn't want to pay him his money. And now he plays for a divisional rival, and they didn't even trade that one. They lost him for literally nothing. But that's not going to happen with Juan Soto. I'm pretty darn sure they're going to trade him because they don't want to be burned twice in the same way. Now, what would a Juan Soto trade look like from this Rangers team? Coming up, we're going to look at that, what some other people think a Rangers trade for Juan Soto might look like, and why the Rangers have better odds than a lot of other teams. First, this word from our sponsors. Now, Ken Rosenthal was on this about a week ago, actually, 5 days ago to be specific. He was on FS1, and he tweeted this about what a Juan Soto trade would look like. This is a tweet from 7/23 from Ken Rosenthal. Quote, as I said on FS1, multiple clubs saying Nats' ask for Soto is 4 to 5 top youngsters, which I think means prospects. Okay. Combo of prospects and major leaguers with low service time. 10 days from deadline, Nats aren't negotiating. One exec said a team either shows willingness to meet the price or Nats move on. Now, the Rangers have a really great farm system. I would say top 5 in all of Major League Baseball before this draft, where they got Kumar Rocker and Brock Porter. It was pretty much consensus a top 10 system. I said top 5 at that point, but now they're really a top 5 system. Now, what they lack in, top number 1 overall prospect or top 15 guys, they don't have anybody who's in the top 15 prospects of all of Major League Baseball. Well, I say that, but according to MLB Pipeline, Jack Leiter is exactly number 15 on their top 100. But outside of that, I don't think anybody is in the top 15. Evan Carter, I believe, is in the top 50. They've got a lot of guys in the top 100 of these different places, but they do not have that A1 pretty much guaranteed to be a future star, like a, Grayson Rodriguez, like a Gunnar Henderson, like a, like Buster Posey before he came up, or, Jurickson Profar before he came up. They don't have one of those guys. Jack Leiter is about as close as they've got to it. I think if Josh Young was healthy, I say that he would already be in the big leagues and be proving how good he can be. By the way, an update there. Today is Thursday, and Josh Young is going to be in a minor league game. He's going to play in a minor league game today, and by sometime next week, he's going to play third base. He could make his major league debut by the end of the season. That is absolutely fantastic news that I'll get into later on, the implications of that and seeing how he does there. But he progressed much faster than the initial worries on his injury, but that is very exciting news. But 4 to 5 top youngsters, combo of prospects and guys with low major league service time. Now, Jamey Newberg of The Athletic did put together a trade package. He did a really, really good article on that. I encourage you to go read it. And one of the things that I learned from that is that Kumar Rocker and Brock Porter cannot be included in a trade until after the World Series. So throw those guys out of any potential deals that you are including them in. And, it does help the sting of probably losing one of Jack Leiter or Owen Wynn. Owen White, I should say. Not Owen Wynn. I did not combine Cole Wynn and Owen White. But this is his offer. Jack Leiter, Ezequiel Duran, Leody Taveras, Luisangel Acuna, Dane Acker, and Anthony Gutierrez. Now, I think those top two are the ones that I would want to include. Leody Taveras, I get it. That's probably the most valuable guy with low Major League service time that the Rangers have. And I would get why they would want him. But also, the Nationals, they have a lot of needs. They have a lot of different positions they need to be filled. They're just, outside of Josh Bell and Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz and, well, Victor Robles, depending on how you feel about him, they're pretty much, could use everything. And Victor Robles, I think, is at least well, I don't know. Victor Robles was a top 100 consensus prospect. I think he made it all the way up into the top 15, top 25 of some overall systems. But, he has not offensively performed quite at that level. But I still think he'll turn around, and his defense is so incredibly valuable. He is a really, really good defensive player, and that's kind of what Leody brings. And so I don't necessarily know that they really need someone exactly like him. I mean, in 2019, at age 22, he had a 17-homer season with a 745 OPS, finished 6th in Rookie of the Year voting that year, had a 4.4 WAR season, has not quite come close to that, had a negative 0.3 WAR season in 2020. In 2022, a negative 0.2. This year is on pace, has a 1.2 WAR season so far through 85 games. So I think my major leaguer that I would be including in this is what my package would look like, my trade package, I should say. Jack Leiter, Ezequiel Duran, Nathaniel Lowe, Dustin Harris, Justin Foscue, Anthony Gutierrez, and Ricky Vanasco. That's a little bit lower of a price than overall, a little bit less great group of guys. Dane Acker, I thought, was a little questionable. Jack Leiter was my number 2 prospect. Ezequiel Duran, my number 3. Luisangel Acuna was number 8. This was before the 2 additions of Porter and Rocker. I think those 2 would slot in just ahead of Luisangel Acuna. And then Dane Acker was my number 29 prospect. Anthony Gutierrez I had at number 18. Now, Gutierrez is, I think, going to have to be included in a deal. He is a 17-year-old who is absolutely crushing it so far in the lower levels. He has been in the Dominican Summer League and been promoted to the Arizona Complex League this year. He has done pretty well offensively so far down there. In 23 games so far at that level, has a 946 OPS, 3 home runs, 8 doubles in 103 plate appearances. Also has an on-base over 400. That is pretty darn impressive for that youngster. Does have 18 strikeouts, 8 walks, but the Nationals really, really like loud tools. They like guys who look like Major League Baseball players. So, again, loud tools, Dustin Harris, yeah, that's a loud tool. Justin Foscue, I might just be wanting to get rid of Justin Foscue, and that just might be my thing there. But I do think his hit tool and what they saw from the short sample size of him absolutely mashing home runs, which I don't think is sustainable. But the Nats, despite not doing a great job overall on their farm system, still end up turning out these generational stars. I mean, not like it was very hard for them to develop Bryce Harper. They had the number 1 overall pick. He was the highest rated prospect since freaking A-Rod. So, you draft him. Same with Steven Strasburg. Pretty easy 1-1 pick there and worked out for the most part. I really don't know how they got Juan Soto and got another generational star, but they lucked into him. And, outside of that, they have not done a good job of developing those secondary guys. So maybe they could use someone like Justin Foscue, who I think is going to be reliable, about average major leaguer at second base. Nothing too special, but the Rangers have second base covered until 2030. So there's not really a whole lot of places for him to go. But Gutierrez is a guy who profiles as potentially a superstar. He is one of those highest ceiling guys, position player wise, in the Rangers system. Him and Evan Carter, I believe, are about neck and neck for what I would say is the highest ceiling of any position player. I have Evan Carter number 6. I would be really reluctant to give him up. It kind of seemed like it was between him and Luisangel Acuna. I'd probably have to throw Luisangel Acuna in here instead of Justin Foscue, and that's just me being extra picky. Vanasco is another guy, loud tools. I think he is just on the verge of becoming a reliever. If you can trick the Nationals and thinking he's still a starting pitcher, he's still probably got the nastiest fastball in the Rangers system, but those walk problems are becoming a real issue, and he's probably not long for a starting role if he hasn't already been considered to move to the bullpen. It's probably not far away, but if you can trick the Rangers, he still does have a very high ceiling if things do go right for him. He could be a really darn good player, and so I included more of those guys, and I think maybe, well, I did say that they like loud tools and then wanted to include a Dane Dunning. That is the softest tools, but he'd probably already be their best pitcher on their major league staff. He's controllable for, I believe, 3 more seasons after this one, so that's a guy who they could really use. So let's scratch out Justin Foscue. That's just me trying to be cheeky, and put in Luisangel Acuna, who I do think has an incredibly high ceiling, has been really crushing it this year, is on the verge of AA. It's going to really hurt to give him up. But the Rangers have an incredibly deep farm system. One of the worries about doing a trade like this, going for a Juan Soto, going for the home run swing, is that you could end up like the Angels. You could just end up with 3 really great players and nobody else does anything. And at this point, another power bat is not necessarily what the Rangers need most. They need 2 to 3 more starting pitchers to round out this rotation. They need a lot of bullpen help, but I don't think that you go for that right now. If you can get Juan Soto for this deal, you say yes, you do it in a heartbeat. You do not look back. You can go sign some relievers. You can go turn some of your top tier guys like of Ricky Vanasco. If you don't include him in this deal, you can promote some of those guys who Zach Kent is probably not long for the bullpen. And same with some of the other guys in that Rangers, or in that Rough Riders rotation, I should say. But those problems are much more fixable. Getting a generational star like this and being able to lock him down for a long-term contract is just something that pretty much never happens. These guys do not become available. It just does not happen. And the Rangers already have, it won't be like an A-Rod situation in 2001 or whenever the Rangers actually signed him, because the Rangers do have some infrastructure around him. He would not be alone in that Rangers lineup. He would already have Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who after a rough first 2 months have been exactly as advertised for June and July. They have been really darn good. You still have other guys like Jon Heyman, who has been exceptional. He might be a guy who they might ask about because he has been fantastic this year. And then you add Mitch Garver back to that group next year, and this might be the best offense in baseball if you add Juan Soto, plus whatever else they might do in the offseason. They probably wouldn't add much to the offense if they got Juan Soto. Like, all right, yeah, that's your offensive fix. That's your offensive fix right there. And maybe you put Josh Young or Dustin Harris. Well, I guess Dustin Harris is included in this deal. Maybe you put Josh Young at first base, and you got some options there, is all I'm saying, if you don't have Nathaniel Lowe, if he is included in this deal. But I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. Obviously, as a big caveat to all of this, the more I hear about it, the less I trust it. This is not a front office that has a lot of leaks. Obviously, Scott Boras is probably the one doing almost all of the leaking in this, and he has got connections to most major media members. He's got close ties to Jon Heyman. That's why my ears kind of perked up when he said the Rangers were the team with the best odds. That seems like where Scott Boras would like him to go, because he has a good relationship with the Rangers owners, because they just paid his clients, again, $500 million in a 2-day span this winter. And if they could add another $500 million just with this one client, end up paying Scott Boras' clients literally $1 billion, that would be a very good relationship to have with a guy who might be the most powerful man in all of baseball. But it's still possible. I do think it's possible. I do think it's a thing that this Rangers front office could do. They like to make these big splashes. They keep talking this game about how, we're not done. They pull the fast one over on us. They signed Simeon and Seager and John Gray, like literally my dream come true for if I could pick 3 guys that I could have on this team. Well, I might have had Clayton Kershaw over John Gray, but still, 3 of my top 4. I will absolutely settle for that. And this is the kind of splashy move that would turn everything around. It's been a rough start to the season. It's been incredibly demoralizing in the month of July after some impressive moments, a great month of May, a kind of disappointing June. You got 2 All-Stars in July and a lot of one-run losses in the month of July as well. But man, you add a Juan Soto, you pile up as many one-run freaking losses as you want. The Rangers will have 3 of the best players in all of Major League Baseball and hopefully have them under contract for the next 7, 8, 10, 15 years to come. And that will cure every single thing that has ever made me sad about baseball, especially if they win a World Series with that group. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Like I said, it will be coming to you tomorrow. I will have you 3 different other trade candidates that the Rangers could pursue if they decide to be buyers at the deadline. Next week is when I'm going to talk combination of trade deadline stuff with host Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. Go check out his podcast wherever you get yours. He's got some great stuff on MLB Stars of Tomorrow. I think he does have an episode on potential Juan Soto trades in there somewhere. So go check that out. Subscribe to him wherever you get your shows. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.